We don't use customer data. It's not of interest to us. We provide software, and what you do with that software, the files you analyzed, and any sort of indicators of compromise are yours and yours alone. And this is another crucial thing to consider when you're comparing sandboxes, when you're looking at things like this. I've got here one of our blog post articles. This was put up about a year ago. And this is quite an interesting one, but what I'm going to focus on here, this particular family of malware, as you'll notice, sends out these URLs to command and control servers. Now, at first glance, someone would submit this. Someone, probably an analyst or something like that, is not going to go digging through this to understand what they're looking at. But of course, if you submitted this to, a solution which is then going to go off and share this information either with vendors or make it available to the wider community, you should be aware of the kind of information that can be contained within. This blog post does a very good job of breaking down what's there. So, for example, the computer name, the domain name, the architecture. Install additional malware on the system, yes or no, in the operating system. So as you can see, by submitting such a URL, you're going to give away a huge amount of information potentially on the state of your cybersecurity internally. Maybe, the attacker, maybe you're going to block the communication to the command and control server so they can't go any further. But of course, if this is out there, it may be just a casual observer who then decides your attack, your systems are potentially there for attacking. So data protection is a very, very crucial thing to consider. And encoded variables inside a URL is one thing. When we start looking at files, now, VMware, we include a reputational lookup at the beginning. These are all commercial services, so they're not reselling the information. But a SHA-256 hash of a file, completely harmless. There's no way of reversing a file from that SHA-256 hash unless, of course, you already have got the file. So if you've got a unique piece of malware, there's probably no concern over, over sharing that hash. But consider what else may be lurking inside that sample. So this is an interesting file. Detonated this about an hour ago when my internet connection was so much more stable and the VPN was up. As you'll see here, we've got a Word document, and the first thing our static analysis engine has caught is that it's trying to trick users into running macros. I've opened this file up as well in our dynamic analysis when the file is actually launched, and as you can see here, Word has run, and we've got these screenshots. Now, this is a very common social engineering attack. Previous version of Microsoft Office, enable editing, enable content, and at that point, the macro starts and all the trouble begins. But of course, consider that background, that blurry background that we can see there. Is there any chance that this would give away that this is a targeted attack against your organization? Is it possible that potentially they've infected maybe a template of a file or something like that that you publish and make available to the internet? So again, think about what's being shared by your sandbox, because all of this is not something you want to consider at the worst time, at the time that you're really going to need a sandbox. When there's a malware outbreak, in my experience, you never get one or two alerts. One or two alerts, maybe just the tip of the iceberg, and then all of a sudden the SOAR explodes, SIEM starts flying with logs, and so on and so forth. That's when you want to be able to confirm and be reassured that everything you're uploading is going nowhere else. Now, here's another interesting sample from a couple of days ago, and we can see here a VTI of extracted configuration. So VMware, of course, we're able to go in and we're able to extract the running configuration for a variety of different malware families, Agent Tesla currently being, I believe, the most common one we see. You'll see here the malware configuration. Now, sadly, this is likely a hacked SMTP server, so the chances are this is someone quite innocent, and I believe by now this has been taken down. But you'll notice you have a sender and a recipient. These, again, randomly created, but if this was perhaps a targeted attack against VMware, there's nothing stopping it that maybe the recipient would be VMware data exfil or something else that once more could give away that we've been targeted. So remember, when you upload these samples, investigate. Where do they go? Who else is going to be able to see these samples? Is anyone else going to be sort of interfering with them, or are they going to be shared to a wider community? And is it something you maybe need to consider sanitizing first of all?